Hello and welcome to Dan Talks United, and we've won. Can you believe it? We've beat Crystal Palace 2-1. Wasn't looking that way in the first half, but we've won. Number 7 scores one of the goals. United. Saeed's reaction on his stream encapsulates how I'm feeling. Come on, United.
Civilian down the drain, Mason Mount scores again. Come on! United! Let's go! We finally won together since March! You're not laughing anymore!
Yeah, I know I predicted a 2-1 loss, I think, and I'm glad to be wrong. We haven't won at that ground for 5 years, and if it's to be believed, I think it was said on Sky Sports that we haven't, or Henderson hasn't conceded against us since switching from us to Palace. Don't know if any of that's true, but not today. We've got 2 goals past Henderson, 2 goals past Palace. We've got a win on the road away, which is rare, especially under Amorim. And we've got a rare win at Palace after 5 years. 5 years we've been waiting for this. Sounds pathetic. A team like Man United not winning at Palace for 5 years, but this is where we are. So, first half, let's have a chat about the game now. First half didn't look great, must admit. Couldn't see where we were going to score. Didn't look like we could string a pass together. Our intensity was really low. We were second to all the balls. Second balls, just Crystal Palace were just winning everything. And they just looked like they were hungrier and that they wanted it more. And obviously it's that battle of the 3-4-3 system. And it looked like Glasner set up his team how it should be, and it was outdoing Amorim's 3-4-3. Now, I'm not saying that either team were playing well, by the way, but just that Crystal Palace looked more organised, and they had more intensity, and they were better in the press. And I felt like they were pressing us into mistakes quite early on. Then, as the game, at the start, or early chance, should I say, from us, Casemiro, bit of a fumble in the box, didn't quite get a connection on the ball at any point. And then Henderson, to be fair to him, was good goalkeeping and stopped us scoring early doors. Then we come on to that clumsy challenge from Yoro on Mateta. Now, one thing about Mateta, he was doing very well holding the ball up, and there was a sort of pass into Mateta, sort of spun into the box, and Yoro was behind him. And he's tried to do a bit of a last-ditch attempt to stop him, but he's from behind, and really he should have just let De Ligt step in and try and sort of put him off his shot, but instead he's tried to atone for his error, and he's clumsily taken Mateta down. Now, Mateta scores his penalty, first attempt, and then on the replay, it looks like he's done a double touch and it's come off his left foot. So he's had to do a retake. Now, that ruling's changed recently, because before that, if you did do that mistake where you've hit the ball twice before it goes in, then it wouldn't be a retake. You just wouldn't get the penalty. You wouldn't get the goal. Obviously, they've changed the rulings recently, and it means that he gets to take it again. Now, at this point, because it was a bit of a scuffed shot, and obviously it would have been because it's come off his foot, obviously Lamons is dived the wrong way. Now, this is a battle of psychology in a sense, where does Lamons think, right, is he going to go to the other side of the net now? And then does Mateta think, if I put it in the same side, Lamons is not going to think I'll go there again the second time round. So it was a bit of a battle of composure there in a sense. So what's happened there is Lamons has gone the other way, and Mateta's put the ball in the other side from what he did from the first shot. So Mateta wins there. Much better strike from Mateta. However, I think if Lamont had have guessed right, I think he would have saved it. So that's the first half, really. Not much to report on that. Like I say, it was a poor first half. It was very similar to watching us against Everton, and I'd rather just. It's one of those where you just rather watch paint dry. It was horrible. There were times where there was a couple of interchanges that were quite nice, but we could never sort of keep it going, especially into that final third. So on to the second half then. So no changes from Amorim for the second half, not straight away anyway. Obviously, this was going to be the telltale sign to say, have the players given up? Or are the players going to play for the coach? And it's the latter. The players, I hand it to them, wasn't a great first half. Not saying it was a great second half, but there was definitely an increased intensity. Now, you'd expect that because Crystal Palace played in Europe on Thursday, and this is an early kick-off on a Sunday. However, like I say, he's obviously spoken to the lads in the dressing room, and they've come out wanting to, again, atone for that first half, which was a really bad showing. They've come out with a lot more intensity. The press was slightly better. The passing was a little bit more controlled in the sense of they were making a bit more sure that the pass made it. Nobody tried anything outrageous per se. So then I think it was a free kick. Bruno passes it in to Xerxes. I'm thinking, right, he just needs to get his left peg on this and just swing towards goal. Sort of doesn't take the opportunity first time and sort of lets it play a little bit. And at this point, I'm thinking he's not gonna get the chance here because he's gone a bit too wide, and he's managed just to get his foot around it. Left foot strike past Henderson into the net, and it was one of those where it's like, oh, that went in. A bit of a shocker, really. However, we take that. Xerxes has been a bit rusty because he hasn't really played, and I've been questioning whether he's up to the Premier League. Still, the jury's out on that, but it was a smart finish, a really nice finish, good connection on the shot. Probably a shot that possibly shouldn't have gone in to a certain extent, but it was well struck, well hit. Don't think the keeper really had a chance to save that, but it's just the angle of the shot where you're thinking you can't score from there, but he did, and you've got to hand it to him. Like I say, it was a really good shot. Then throughout the second half, like I say, it was a little bit better than the first half. Like I say, more intensity. He's made the substitution where he's taken Yoro off because obviously difficult, isn't it, with a young player and confidence, but I don't think his performance was increased in the second half, and it probably was a good decision to take Yoro off. Not a difficult substitution to make because it's like for like, but I do feel that Mazraoui plays better as one of the centre-backs on the sides. Definitely right centre-back. So that was actually a good substitution. Felt Mazraoui, I didn't say he had the best game in the world, but he looked a bit more comfortable in that position. Like I say, I think I prefer him there than on right wing back because I don't think he gives you enough going forward. But he is a good defender ultimately. So, like I say, that good substitution there. Then another free kick where you're thinking, oh, Bruno's going to take a strike here. And he actually passes it to the side. And a good, smart, neat finish from Mount to make it 2-1. And you're thinking, whoa, again, out of nowhere, we're in the lead. How's this happened? So just to sort of talk about how we played in general, I sort of touched on it anyway. Obviously, the first half was poor, low intensity, poor passing. Just thinking, which team has played in Europe this week? Is it us? Is it them? And obviously, it was them, but it looked like it was us. But you could see that sort of drop off for Palace in the second half. So I think that helped us a little bit as well. So I do believe our intensity went up, but I also believe that Crystal Palace's intensity went down. So it sort of helped us out a little bit. So again, passing was slightly better, a bit more better in terms of our shape as well going forward. I thought Mbuma was getting on the ball a little bit more, and Ahmad was getting on the ball a little bit more as well. So there's a few crosses going into the box, a few attempts to sort of get that ball forward. So that was better, but again, much improvement needed going forward. So coming on to what I believe is our top 3 players in this match. Always difficult when you feel like the team hasn't particularly played well. So it's always a bit more difficult to sort of choose 3 players and then ultimately the man of the match. However, when you win, that makes it a little bit easier. So in 3rd place for me, I'm going to say Xerxes, and obviously that's going to be sort of a close 3rd and 2nd with the other person that's coming up. But I'm going to say Xerxes because of the finish, because the fact that it brought us level and sort of got us back in that game. So I think it's deserved that he's up there, and that is one of our better players today. 2nd, I'm going to go with Mount. And again, reason for that is, again, his goal. But his goal put us in the lead to make that 2-1. So obviously that separates us from getting a point and 3 points. I think his overall play was okay. Intensity levels were there. So in terms of his pressing, his tackling, that was fine. Obviously, we've seen Mount play way better than today, but I do believe he's being key today in terms of us getting the win. And then man of the match is Bruno. Now, a few people might argue with that because Bruno didn't particularly have the best game. However, as Bruno does, he always gets on that stats sheet. Call him a stat padder, you name it, but he always seems to do it somehow. And obviously, he's involved in the first goal, the pass to Xerxes, and then he's involved. It's not the hardest pass in the world, but he's involved passing it to Mount for the second. Now, I'm not going to give him huge credit, but in times gone by, you would expect Bruno to have taken the strike there. And he's passed it to Mount, knowing that it would deceive the Palace defence. And it's just a nice strike from Mount. So Bruno gets the man of the match. Overall play, like I say, wasn't the best, but again, his intensity was increased in the second half, and he was getting his body about, and a couple of decent defensive actions in that second half as well. Right, so moving on to how Palace played, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I did think they played better than us anyway in the first half, because again, I don't feel that either team played well today. I just felt that their shape looked better. It looked like Glasner was getting what he would like to get out of his 3-4-3. In regards to shape and discipline is what I mean. So obviously not in regards to interesting play or goals per se, but just in regards to controlling the game for me and shape. In that first half, I thought Arteta played pretty well in the sense of held the ball up really well. What we'd expect Sesko to do, for example. Big man. Didn't rate what he was doing with his shorts, by the way. Don't know what that were about. But other than that, big man, ball's coming into him, chesting it down, holding off our centre-backs, whether it be De Ligt or Shaw, with ease, and then just waiting for support from his teammates and just passing it off. And it wasn't like a wild pass off to the side or anything like that. It was controlled pass off, and then he was gone again. And that's sort of really good centre-forward play, to be honest. Gets his goal as well from the penalty spot. And a lot of pressure having to take the penalty again. Slots it in nicely. Overall good play from Mateta. And like I say, their team as a whole pressed us very well. Thought Wharton looked pretty decent as well. Preferred Anderson against us, if I'm being honest, but Wharton, nothing outrageous, because I don't think he's that type of player anyway, but just neat and tidy, controlled the midfield pretty well, stood up against Bruno and Casemiro well, good showing. Not that it's difficult to do that anyway, but yeah, overall, good play from Wharton. So, as I was saying earlier, I think Palace brought it to us in the first half in terms of their intensity and pressing. I thought that we wasn't quite up to it in that first half, and we were sort of relying a lot on set pieces, and it looked like that through the game that's what we were going to do, and ultimately that's how we've won the game. So it was either set pieces from a free kick or corners, and hoping to either get that first header on the ball or second balls. Long throw from Dallow. So there's this thing across the Premier League at the moment where there's a lot of set pieces going on, or reliance on set pieces to break teams down, and long throws. So Delap will be laughing because we used to take the piss out of Delap back in the day at Stoke and what have you, but this long throw seems to be a thing at the moment. You don't mind it so much when it's working, but if I'm honest, I don't want to go as far as saying it's ruining the game per se, but it's not what we're used to seeing when the bright lights of the Premier League and some of the flair players that we've seen over the years, that seems to be dying out. And obviously, it's each to their own, but I like to see a mix of things. I like to see a well-organised, a well-drilled team that entertains you, but you also want to see the odd sort of maverick, the odd flair player over the years when you've marvelled at Henry for Arsenal, for example, or Giggs for us going down the wing, even a nice Beckham free kick or cross, Ronaldo step overs, that sort of thing. You want to see some of that stuff, and it feels like it's dying out a little bit, or a goal out of nowhere. It's just a fantastic piece of skill, and then strike. You're just not seeing a lot of that at the minute, and there's a lot of reverting to can't break that team down, so let's do a long throw. Can't break that team down, so let's try our best to get a corner or another set piece so that we can just, chuck the ball into the area and hope for the best, and don't like that type of football. But today I'll take it because we lost against Everton on Monday. Horrible game. And we needed to come back from that. So it's nice to get that win. Again, another talking point for me is, and I've mentioned it already, how does Bruno always manage to get on that assist table? Just doesn't matter how bad he plays or how good he plays, he ends up getting an assist or two. Not going to complain because that's what you want, and ultimately it's helped us to win the game, but it just amazes me how he does it. I did think, last talking point, I did think it could have impacted the game when Mbeumo early doors slams the ball down because he didn't think it was a throw-in, and obviously gets booked for that. Now that could have been, or that was risky, and could have put him in a situation where if he was one of the last men running back to defend, he's got to make a decision because he could have got sent off, but got away with it. Like I say, didn't look in danger of getting another card throughout the game after that, so got away with that one. Right, so next game is West Ham at home. So obviously there'll be a video before then, a preview where we've got the predictions. So I won't be saying any sort of predictions at the minute, but hopefully we can start to get a bit of a run together. But it's a tricky team under Nuno, so we'll have to see what we do there. Obviously we need to make Old Trafford a fortress. Keep saying this, but we need to do it, and that's where you can sort of get your form from and get that sort of fear factor when you can start to build up a good home record and make it a fortress, and that's what we need to do for the next game. Right, as always, please subscribe to the channel because it's really important to new channels such as this. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers now, so once again, thanks for subscribing so far, but please subscribe if you haven't already. Please like, please share, and I will see you on the next one.